Good evening, UK Crime Book Club. You're in for an absolute treat. Let's let John Mayhew, who now looks dead, introduce yourself, show off your books, and then we'll dive in.
Right. Okay. So, hello everyone. My name's John, and I'm a crime author. So I'm an author of about 30 books in all. Most of those are children's books. Some of them are mysteries and crimes and stuff. But well, recently I have written 4 adult crime novels concerning the character DCI Will Blake. All my stories are based on the Wirral, which is where I live. If you don't know, the Wirral is the little sticky out bit sandwiched between the River Mersey and the River Dee. So we keep North Wales away from Liverpool, and you know, so the two don't clash. And yeah, so that's kind of me and where I live. And my books are Poison Tree. So here we go. I was watching some other videos, and everyone has this problem, don't they?
Yeah,
I'll take it back and go like that.
And I make a dodgy weather girl joke every time.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You all kind of do things, and I call you weather girls.
That's it. Yeah. Well, yeah. It's raining men. Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be totally random. This I can tell now. Everything that goes into my head just comes out my mouth.
Together, I'm not sure about this combination for everybody else, but I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah, we'll have fun. So yeah, so my first book's The Poison Tree, and as I say, this concerns DCI Will Blake and his team. And in the first book, they are basically investigating the murder of a young girl in a local beauty spot, but that quickly becomes linked to a series of cold cases. And I think, as I said in the introduction, there's a lot of shoes involved in this one, and which it was quite fun.
Can you put the shoes on the shelf behind you? Are you in the same way?
Yeah. Where are they? Where are they? Oh, hang on. Have to go like that. Go the right way. Where have they gone? Oh yeah, they're kind of.
Sorry.
There they are.
There they are.
Yeah. So there's a pair of high tops there. Which are just, you know, there's stilettos and all kinds involved in this. You know, it's nothing to do with a dodgy shoe fetish or anything. It was just, it is very much a plot device. So yeah, so a Poison Tree. That's the first case for Will Blake.
Sorry, I've just spotted a comment on the side.
Oh, what?
J.D. Kirk, behave yourself.
Oh, what's he done? Who let that go?
I'm glad you said it. I can't say that word on air.
Oh, sorry. Do apologise. Yeah.
Oh
no, yeah. But Barry and I, yeah.
Sorry, carry on.
That's all right. Yeah.
Why I was suddenly in fits of laughter.
Do you know? I deliberately I went to his launch the other night. Was it last night? And I didn't say a word. I just lurked in the corners. I thought, if I say something now, I'll get into trouble.
And now you wish you'd let him have it.
And now I do, yeah. With his scented candles. What's that all about? So Poison Tree is the shoes, and then Fearful Symmetry. I'm so bad at this. Fearful Symmetry. That's what I need to do. Fearful Symmetry is a serial killer adventure. And in this one, the basic premise is that the serial killer has a kind of an attachment to Will Blake. Will Blake, apart from his name being that of an English poet, which also causes him great discomfort because everyone asks him to recite Tiger, Tiger, and yeah, there's all kinds of comments about that. The other thing is that he was a member of the cast. He was a kind of mini celebrity in a crime watch type program called Searchlight, and he spent the whole of his career living that down because he was there as a young copper, introducing the CCTV of corner shop robberies and you know, people caught on camera doing naughty things, and he had to basically appeal for witnesses. And he spent the whole of his career living that down as well. Unfortunately, the serial killer in Fearful Symmetry is a big fan, and that's the kind of conceit that draws Blake and this guy together. His modus operandi is that he breaks into people's houses, invites people in, like mobile hairdressers and people like that, and then murders them and leaves them behind. Usually the people in the houses are on holiday, and they come back to some quite a grisly discovery. So that's quite fun. If you like that kind of thing, I guess. Bones of the Dead is again set on the Wirral, and the thing about this one is that the main murder victim is a kind of paranormal investigator, a kind of self-styled Derek Acora, if you want, and but not as good. I think I do use the expression pound shop Derek Acora in this, which, you know, so yeah, and basically he goes missing and basically just leaves behind loads of his blood, and so they have to treat it as a murder, and they're investigating that. But of course, with all paranormal investigators, not everything is as it seems, so that's quite good. And it's set in Wirral's Flaybrick Cemetery, which again, Wirral's got like loads of, my son always says, oh, it's great, the Wirral. Well, it would be if we lived there 100 years ago, because like everything that was great about the Wirral happened about, like, well, we had the biggest iron tower in Europe. It was bigger than the Blackpool Tower. It was massive. And they took it down at the end of the First World War. No one's quite sure why. But we also had the first park, which I'll talk about in a minute, which was Birkenhead Park, which Central Park is based on. The gridiron pattern of Birkenhead is the kind of blueprint for New York. So there's all these kind of weird sort of little things about Wirral. This one's set in Flaybrick Cemetery, which was one of the first kind of municipal cemeteries built outside the sort of town limits, if you want. And it's an amazing place, actually. It's a really great Gothic graveyard, and it's wonderful to wander around if you like wandering around graveyards, which I do. Anyway, so that's kind of the setting for that one. So again, spooky. And then the fourth book is, that's it, I've got it. No, that's it. Yep. The fourth book is Cruelty Has a Human Heart. And yeah, you can kind of guess what that one's about. So a little girl goes missing in Birkenhead Park, which I've told you about. And basically Blake has to investigate that. There's an obvious suspect, but of course Blake's not happy that it is the obvious suspect, whereas everyone else is. And so he has to kind of prove that someone else might actually have taken the girl. And again, all is not what it seems. So yeah, so that's kind of Will Blake. They're all, as I say, they're all set in the Wirral, and kind of name check local areas and try and get a flavour of the place, really, because it is quite a strange and unusual place. I think, as I said on the Criminal Shorts thing, it's a very small place, really. But it's got every kind of geographical feature crammed into it. It's got ridges, and it's got like gullies and valleys and lakes and all kinds of things, and coastal waters, and yeah, all kinds of things. So it's quite an interesting place, really. No one ever goes there because they all go to Liverpool, so that's fine.
I've just switched my phone on just to have a look who's commenting, because you.
Oh right. He's not a god. He's lovely. We're a scouser. Who's that?
Maston says hello. That's William Bussed, the one that says Facebook user. That's what I was looking at.
Oh right. Okay. Yeah.
So Barry says, great series despite the author's many personal shortcomings. Highly recommended.
Charming.
And William Hussey, hey, I can't say any bad words on camera.
Oh right. No.
Still teaching assistant, so fill in the gap for me. Hey, he's not a
gobshite. Yeah.
he's lovely for a scouser.
Oh yeah.
So one of the best crime writers in the biz, and the nicest guy. Thank you for filling in the blanks for me.
Jokes. Yeah.
I've been warned to behave.
Yes, I've got one there. The Sense of Place is one of the Will Blake series' many, many strengths. Oh, that's nice. Don't know who that is, but thank you. Well. Oh, is it? All right. Gosh. Yeah. There you go.
Oh, that's so nice. So your love for the Wirral. Talk to us about why you set your books there, why you live there. I mean, you've always lived there, but
yeah, I was born on the Wirral. It's where I've grown up and where I ended up again. Yeah, when I started to write the books, I like books that have got that sense of place. You know, obviously like Rankin's Rebus books and bring Edinburgh to life, and I read recently, a bit of a while back now, but Val McDermid's Place of Execution, which is all sort of Derbyshire and Peak District, and again, you really got the feel for it, and I do like the idea of somewhere being set in a physical location. Luca Veste is great, when he writes about Liverpool, and again, you can see those sort of settings really, and that kind of helps in a way. It's almost like a short. So I keep looking at Barry's kind of. Oh no! Yeah, we'll come to that in a minute. So yeah.
Oh, okay. We are definitely coming to that in a minute. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Barry.
Thanks, Barry. I look forward to the answer.
Yeah. So
carry on.
So the Wirral kind of was obviously you've got to write what you know, haven't you? And again, you could spend ages researching a different location, but why would I do that when I've got all this on my doorstep? And it did strike me again that often people will hear your voice and they'll say, "Oh, you're from Liverpool," and you kind of say, "Well, kind of, But actually, anyone from Liverpool would know straight away that I'm a Plazzy Scouser, as they call them, So I'm not a proper Scouser. I'm from the over the water, which is fine by me. But and there's a certain animosity. It's a bit like, I suppose it's a bit like Sunderland and Newcastle as well. There's that sort of rivalry a little bit. But I love Liverpool, and I just thought, it's great. And when actually, funnily enough, as well, I was writing the first book, and my initial idea was to set it in Liverpool and in the whole area. And then a mate of mine, Jim Friel, who is a writer, I was talking to him about it, and he said, "Oh, keep it on the Wirral. Just have all the adventures on the Wirral, because it's Merseyside police. They're based in Liverpool. There are stations on the Wirral, but basically everyone works out of the HQ in Liverpool. So basically, I kind of focus. They do sort of go over to Liverpool to talk to witnesses and things, but essentially they are the Wirral based stories, and it just gives me a chance to bring out Bidston Hill and Flaybuck Cemetery and the coast, and I've got a whole idea based around Hilbury Island, which is a little seal colony off the top of the Wirral, and there are lots of sands there. People get caught in the sands and drowned and have to be rescued. And I've got a mate who was a member of the RNLI, who was going to help me with tides and stuff like that. So that should be quite fun as well. Yes.
So go on, let's talk about our good friend Barry. Am I right?
Oh, right. Okay.
John once took part in an event called Scarefest.
Can you tell us a bit about that? All right.
So you could have a beer now, don't you?
Let me just have a swig of me can. So yeah, this was many years ago. Barry and a guy called Curtis Jobling and the wonderful Tommy Donbavand, who is no longer with us, who is a fantastic children's author. Books are still available and you can get them. And a guy called Phil Caveney and a guy, oh my goodness, I've actually forgot. Oh yeah, Joe Delaney. I nearly forgot his name then, who wrote the Spook series that some people might be familiar with. We're all children's authors, and we did this event called Scarefest, which was run by Tony Higginson, who's a wonderful guy, he's a great organizer, a lover of books, and very, very passionate. And yeah, it was just there were so many of us there. The first one, I think there were 3 of us there. There was like me, Barry, and I think Dave Gatwood, who's doing the Grim Up North. I think he was there as well. Oh, gang of us, all children's authors, and yeah, and it just went on forever. And I seem to recall like playing a song. I played the mandolin, and I'm quite interested in folk music. And the books that I was promoting at the time were kind of gothic children's adventures, all based around folk ballads. And so I played one of these songs, and it was I think Barry actually made the comment when I came back. I said, "Was that all right?" And he said, Yeah, John, it's it's not every day that you entertain a load of children with a song about infanticide. It's basically it's called The Cruel Mother. It's about a woman that murders her baby. And it was a cheerful tune. It was all Halloween. It was the spookiest tune I could find because you get haunted by it, the ghost of it afterwards. And it was only afterwards I thought, yeah, maybe that wasn't the best tune to pick, really. But yeah. So yeah, and it was just it was a big event. It was a big night. We sold a lot of books. I don't think Barry did. I can't remember why. Maybe you ask him about that sometime. But yeah, but it was good. It was good. Yeah.
Kaz is telling me that you've frozen. I wonder if that's still the case because you froze briefly on my screen, but then
right.
carried on again. So
I'm moving now. Yeah, it's amazing how you can talk about
that. So if you missed that, it says Barry says it's amazing how he can talk without moving his mouth. And then we have a comment. William Hussey says, "Was I the only one kids horror author who wasn't invited to this?"
Yes, yeah. We were asked, but we said don't do that. Don't do that. No. If you haven't, yeah, it's probably
Barry's
Scottish.
Saying that you're still frozen.
Yeah, I'm not. I can see it. Yeah, he's up in Fort William, isn't he? I mean, he's up in some, out underneath a mountain or something. Do they have it? Do they have the internet up there? I think they do, don't they? Yeah. I'm not sure. It's always frozen anyway. It's cold. It's cold up there, isn't it? That'll be it. Yeah. Put the heating on, you stingy git.
Shall we just send Barry my link and we'll let you two go at it and I'll just sit back and watch?
As long as we can have subtitles, that's the main thing.
Okay, talk to me about teaching.
Teaching? It's terrible. Don't do it. Anyone? No. Oh, hell, I'm frozen in Skegness as well.
In Skegness, that's William.
That's the North Sea for you. So yeah, we're live.
We are now live again in the book club.
In theory.
Part two of our author chat with John Mayhew. No idea what happened. We've just had a thing saying it was deleted. So let's just get on with my next question, which is, I believe your wife's book club have read your book.
I believe they have as well. Yeah, definitely. Well, it's one of those things, isn't it? Because you never really know, do you? Like, they all said it was great and they loved it. And actually, a couple of them have, they've bought the second and the third one as well. So you sort of think, yeah. So yeah, it went down very well. They liked it. They liked the first book, Poison Tree. Poison Tree is quite a complex book, really. Lots go on, and there are lots of sort of web. There's a whole web of characters, really. And yeah, they enjoyed it. They really did. They thought it was great. So that was a relief. I often wonder, like, what would they do if they thought it was terrible? That's it's awful. Just, oh yeah, we loved your book. I don't know, but no, I think they would. They'd be honest. I'm sure. I
was going to say, are you like me? Do you only believe that something's good if they also say, but that bit?
Yeah. I mean, I must admit, I prefer constructive criticism. I don't know about you, but the way I was brought up is like, you just don't get too big for your boots. It's just like, you're right. You're not all that. Just, and so. When I got my first book published by Bloomsbury way back in 2010, it's people running up to you, saying, "Oh, loved your book, it was fantastic," and you kind of like, yeah, all right then, okay, fine, that's great, and it took me a long time to kind of learn how to deal with praise, really, but I still find it embarrassing and awkward. I suppose all writers. Well, most people suffer from imposter syndrome anyway. You kind of just think someone's going to jump out and go, "I knew you couldn't do it."
Don't suffer from it that we need to worry about.
Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, I've forgotten what the question was now. I'm kind of like,
I was asking about your wife's book club.
Yeah. So they liked it, and I don't think they're going to read another one though. because that would be a little bit. My wife rocked up every sort of couple of months with it. Oh, there's another one by John. They'd be like, really,
Well, if you like the first one, leave them to it. It's good feedback.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. And I do, occasionally I'll bump into some of them round town or whatever, and then they're like, "Oh, I've read your second book. It's very good." Oh, yeah, always embarrassing. Yeah.
Embarrassing? Why is it embarrassing?
I don't know. I think it is just that. Yeah, I always, it's bizarre.
Is it that British politeness thing? Do you suffer from it?
Just that reserve, really. I think that sort of northern kind of reserve, really. It was all right. Yeah, that'll do. Calm down. It's only a book. But yeah, it is strange. I find it quite hard to deal with that in a weird kind of way. And yeah. It's that idea that people are reading it. I often got that. I got that with the kids' books as well. Kids come up and say, "Oh, I love that. I love your book." And there's a bit of you what kind of wants to like quiz them on it just to see if they have actually read it. All right, what happens on page 53 then? But yeah, and generally then they ask you a question about it, and you haven't got a clue because you wrote it years ago. I don't know. I've forgotten which character was that. What book was it in? So. They probably have read it.
I remember more of it than you do.
Yeah, because writers are terrible. They kind of move on. Well, let's have a look. Are we back in?
We are. Kaz says that we are good to see us back. And she's. I asked her if she'd tag Barry and William so they could find it. And she has.
Yeah.
Because she's an absolute star.
Yes, lovely. Wonderful.
I realise I've never asked you, John, what is your typical writing day? So I'm going to scroll and have a look who that is. Cannot find it. Oh, I don't know who that's from. I'm looking on my phone to see the name and I don't see it, but...
It was me.
Oh, John, what is your
typical writing day?
Do you have one?
Yeah, well, I tend to at the moment because of lockdown and one thing and another. Pre-March, I'd be all over the country visiting schools and what have you, and I was kind of working on a poison tree in between, and then like all of that just stopped. So I was kind of like, right then, let's get a bit of writing done. So yeah, I kind of I tend to get up around about 6:30, 7:15. And then I cycle to work. I work from home. I've realised that, but I kind of think, well, if I, rather than just kind of walk down to my chair and slop out, I do jump on my bike and I'll do around about 10 miles on my bike, and then have a shower, and then have my breakfast, and then I start writing. And usually, if I can get 3,000 words done, then I'm happy. That kind of breaks up sometimes if my daughter comes round, or or if or if there are kind of family occasions and stuff. So yeah, and then I'll kind of work through the day really if I have to. If I finish, if I do me 3,000 words, then quite often if I do those in the morning, then I'll just stop and I'll do some Facebook stuff, or I'm very lucky in a way because my wife does she does all the kind of Facebook ads and a lot of the admin and things. The other thing that happened just before lockdown was she was made redundant from her work, so that was kind of exciting. So basically she kind of works on Mayhew Books Limited now, and we get all the stuff done. So yeah, and it works quite well. So yeah, it's basically a bit of exercise, get some writing done, do a bit of social media, and then maybe play some board games, or maybe read or watch something on Netflix, and go to bed, and then it all starts again. Really.
What are you watching on Netflix?
What do I watch on Netflix? What have I been watching? The Queen's Gambit. That is brilliant.
Right. Okay.
That is so good. I'm watching. Is it The Fall at the moment?
Oh yeah.
Which is.
Is that Gillian Anderson?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, and a very, very creepy serial killer, which is kind of doing my head in at the moment because he is like, it's I'm kind of finding a place on the cozy to dark spectrum here. You know, I don't mind writing quite dark stuff, but watching it, I'm kind of like, oh God, you know, it's really chilling. You know, so yeah, so watching that as well. Watch a bit of Star Trek on a Friday, like Star Trek Discovery. Oh, I'll tell you what I loved actually was that Giri Haji. Yeah, I only say it in a sort of scouse. Like, Giri Haji, it's great. Have you seen that Giri Haji? It's really good. So yeah, that the Japanese crossover. So it was a Japanese policeman in London.
Right.
It's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. It's on BBC.
I'm just never ever gonna unhear it in that accent ever.
Yeah, Giri Haji. Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Barry refuses to come back.
Oh, it's charming, that. That's charming.
William Hussey was saying it's him that asked you about your typical writing day.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. Yeah, William's book, the Killing Jericho, that's fantastic. I mean, he
for in the new year, actually.
Oh, excellent! Yeah, I mean, it's a great writer. Again, his kids' books were really good, but this is superb. It's got a kind of John Connolly feel about it. It's great. You know, I'm not going to mention J.D. Kirk because he doesn't need me to.
At some point, I'm buying you three a pint. I feel like it'd be the best investment in an evening.
Yeah, no, he's a cracking guy, Barry. He is. You know, I've known him for a long time, and when I first kind of decided to put pen to paper and actually write a crime novel, obviously I went asked him for advice. He was so helpful, so helpful. He's sorry now. Sorry. Oh, there's a question.
Which one? There's so many.
Do I say?
William Hussey says, "Oh, I can write all kinds of weird things about him. I'll never know it's me." Wahaha. By the way, yeah, William. I'm looking on my phone. I can't see it on camera.
Screenshot.
Yeah. No. Got to tell the kids at school. Screenshot.
Yeah. Who has the final say on book titles? That's a good one.
That's Jason Kelly. Hi, Jay.
Right. Hi, Jason. Yeah, that's a good one. So I've taken all the book titles from William Blake poetry. Now, if you know any William Blake poetry, he doesn't specialize in snappy one-liners really. So they're quite long, some of them. And so I think I have the final say on book titles, but I think I am going to have to, I'm going to run out of them soon. There's the fifth book coming out soon, which is called All the Lies, which is a truth that's told with bad intent, where beats all the lies you can invent, which is quite a nice little. But obviously, you couldn't put that as a whole title. But then, and then there's a poem called Proverbs of Hell, which I think is a great title for a book. But then I'm starting to dry up a little bit, so I might have to move on to other sort of another source. I've got a whole list of titles, but I think what I need to do is to sort of sift through them and see what actually suits the kind of the series really. So I'm looking down at a big pile of books here, but they seem to work quite well. I'm quite pleased with the titles really. So far. Yeah.
William says he loved the fall, and he blushes. I don't know which comment we made. That's two. What made you blush? Barry wants to know if you're going to continue writing children's books.
Well, I've got one more book coming out in January with UClan Publishing, which is a kind of local publisher. They're based out of the University of Central Lancashire, and it's their kind of press. And that's a kid's book called The Spybrarian. And of course, like being a great salesman, I haven't got any copies around with me.
That's a clever title.
Yeah, well, it kind of does what it says on the tin.
People just kicked themselves.
Yeah. Well,
blinding.
Yeah. Funnily enough, though, I know for a fact that Barry and Tommy, bless his soul, actually pitched, I don't know whether it was a cartoon or a TV series to one of the networks called The Spybrarian many years ago. And that doesn't surprise me, because, as I say, genius. But yeah, that's kind of coming out in January. And then I don't know, really. I'm not sure, because the crime stuff is doing really, really well. I'm enjoying writing it. I've got loads of ideas, and loads of time. I don't. I was saying to you the other day, I don't mind doing this kind of chat. The idea of doing this to a classroom of kids, like trying to talk to a classroom of kids, would just fills me with dread, and isn't something
like this, but with children that you're trying to engage with, is what
yeah, exactly. So and the sad fact is really that children's writing, you with children's writing, you make a living from it by being a writer rather than writing, if you see what I mean. So John Mayhew goes into a school, sells lots of books, and I do writing workshops, and I've done inspirational talks with the kids, interactive talks and things. It's very hard to do this in sort of COVID situations, really. And and also I kind of did that when my kids were of an age, so like I almost wrote those kids' books for my kids. And yeah, they're all grown up now, so I don't have to write anything for them. I can write for me. but yeah, so I don't know. If I have an idea, I might write something. But I'm loving the crime stuff. It's just great fun, and I think as well, writing, because I'm writing independently, so I've got total control over covers and titles and plot and all of those sorts of things. So again, there's a certain freedom in that, which I think is fantastic. It's just great. And I could write in any genre. I don't have to go to a publisher and say, I've got a really good idea for a science fiction story, and they're like, oh yeah, have you written any science fiction before? The ultimate arbiters of it will be the public, and I kind of like that in a way. If they like it, they'll buy it and they'll read it, and and that's good, I think. But yeah, so sticking to crime at the moment, I've always loved reading crime, and I think, as I say, a lot of the stories that I've written have turned out to be mysteries. But it didn't dawn on me until I'd written about my second one of these. I thought, you kind of question yourself and say, well, almost question your right to write them. Why should you write these? And I was just looking at the bookshelf and thinking, if I wrote, Mortlock was a Victorian Gothic mystery, and the Demon Collector that followed it. The Bonehill Curse after that was again, it's almost like a whodunit, really. So they just, I've kind of always liked those kind of stories anyway, so it kind of works.
What ages of children are all the books for?
They're all 8 to 12. So yeah, there's the Mortlock trilogy, and then there's a young Captain Nemo series that I did as well called Monster Odyssey, and they're all by Bloomsbury. And then I've written loads of kind of educational books, so reading scheme books and non-fiction books and all kinds of stuff, really, just for the educational market, but retellings of Shakespeare.
Did you publish them under?
What name? Yeah, just John Mayhew. Yeah, Jon, John Mayhew. Yeah.
I will be having a look, because I did promise my class. They're not my class. I'm a teaching assistant, so they're not technically my class. But I got them all to write some books down on lists, so we could bulk up our class reading corner.
Oh right.
I'll be having a look, but I'll have a look at those as well. I love the idea of a Spybrarian in our corner.
yeah. Well, I'm hoping that'll. Well, it just does what it says on the tin, really. It's librarian spies, and it's just full of rubbish library jokes, like What's the slippiest place in a library? The non-friction section. There you go. So yeah,
Will Templeton need a chat about your dad jokes? They're brilliant.
They're the best. They're the best. Definitely.
Jason Kelly wants to know what the initial E stands for in JU Mayhew.
That's a secret.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's not really actually.
Does it not stand for anything?
It does, yeah, it does. It's my middle name, which is an old family name, an old family name, and it's Edwin. Believe it or not, yeah. So Edwin, and in fact, yeah, I think Jason might be alluding to. I also have written a series for young adults and adults, really, under another pseudonym, Edwin Tor. So that's
my research. How has that happened?
So that was my first series. That was my first sort of foray into independent publishing, really, into indie writing. And I tried a urban fantasy series called Dead Means Dead, and it's basically about a specialist funeral director who, he basically puts the undead back in their grave, but only if they've just emerged. So he's not bothered about the vampire that lives in the big old house up on the hill if they've been around for 100 years or whatever. It's just if they ruin a really good funeral and and pop out the ground at the wrong time and mess it all up, he has to go. If they've got to be fairly fresh, so he goes and sorts out zombies and gals and undead vampires and things like that. So those again are really he's an amateur sleuth, so they're kind of detective, private investigator novels, really, but with the undead in them. And the Edwin Tor. Yeah, I forgot all about them. The first one's called Demons. The second one is called something else, which I've forgotten altogether. The third one's called Jigsaw Girl. And they didn't do brilliantly well. And so I kind of lost heart with them, really, and so they're just sort of languishing on Amazon. They're available there. There are actually 3 novels. They're only about sort of 40 to 50,000 words long. They're not massive ones, but there's a series of linking short stories as well. That's why I can't remember the name of the second book, because there's about 2 short stories in between. But yeah, that's my middle name is Edwin. And Edwin Tor. So if you ever want to make up your Victorian or your sort of Gothic writer's name, you take your middle name and then the nearest park you live near. So I live near Tor Park, or I used to so it was Edwin Tor. So that was my sort of, and it sounded quite good, so I kept it going.
I always fall down on those because I've not got a middle name.
Well, no, that's tricky. Yeah, that is tricky. Yeah. There must be another way around it. I don't know where it is.
Yeah. I'm sure I'll live. We've got. I remembered a question from from part 1 of our video. Let's hope that can be covered.
Yeah.
I really don't know what happened. But Kaz wanted to know what's the difference between writing for adults, crime for adults, and writing for children. Children are sophisticated, aren't they? People think you can just write something, throw it out, and
doesn't work. Yeah. No, I think in some ways it's harder to write for children because, quite apart from the fact, I mean, the most obvious thing is that you can't have loads of swears in a kid's book generally, whereas you can drop a few F-bombs in a book and people don't mind, as long as it's kind of in context, or it kind of works for the humor or whatever. And you generally, you have to argue quite strongly to get any kind of foul language in a kid's book. And I think as well, it's difficult to kind of to get the level right and to pitch things. I mean, some of the books that I've written are written for reluctant readers, and so I have to really simplify the language and run it through a SMOG test, a readability test, and really think about the sentence structure. And quite often writing for kids, it's a question of paring down the language, because kids, they'll read something, and if it doesn't grab them straight away, they're off. Often adults will, they'll persevere with something, and they'll give it a chance and they'll move on. But I do think kids are quite sophisticated, and they like to be challenged sometimes as well. So sometimes the language doesn't have to be that simple. It depends, who you're writing for, what age group. And I think the main thing, really, the main difference is that writing for children, you have to get past gatekeepers. So you have to get past librarians, you have to get past teachers, you have to get past parents. And often that's quite a tricky job, so that they'll all have quite preconceived ideas about what a kid's book is. And and so by the time it actually goes through all those filters, what the child gets in the hand isn't necessarily what they would instinctively read. So that's that's quite interesting.
I'm not going to name the author that we were speaking about, but there are some large children's authors that you wonder how on earth they got past the gatekeepers, because I've never thought of it like that, that we're not just looking at saleability to a publisher or an agent, we're thinking of librarians and parents, and I should probably stop talking and move on.
But it is that is one of the difficulties of writing for children, and plus the fact that, like all books, adult and children, it's a crowded market, and you really, these days, if you want traditionally published access to a traditionally published children's market, you really need quite a USP, really, something that's really going to, like, high concept, grab someone's attention straight away. I think that's kind of, the Spybrarian worked that way, because it's high concept, it's a very straightforward idea, but like, that's going to please a lot of people straight away, and it'll be fun.
Oh, never. It's one of those that you hear it and you go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Intrigued more about that.
And they've done a cracking cover on it as well. So yeah, with the adult stuff, again, I think you could. I spent a lot of time looking at covers and thinking about titles and getting that right as well, because I think we have this debate on the UK book club quite a lot about covers and stock images and all of those kinds of things, and I think there are lots of different arguments for and against that that criticism, but I do think as well, none of these books can be rushed off, really. They're not, they deserve some thought and care and consideration. So I think there are parallels. They're not totally dissimilar, really. I would say the big difference is that when you're writing for children, you're writing for adults at the same time, and that's that's the extra layer of difficulty, really, that nobody sees and nobody perceives, really.
It's that thing, isn't it? Like when you're watching a children's movie, we've seen The Grinch so many times. We must have watched it, I couldn't even, dozens of times over the last few years. And she's not going to thank me for this, but we watched it last week or the week before, and my eldest daughter, who's 17, when they made one of the jokes, she roared laughing. It was the Grinch all the babies being delivered in their baskets to the door, and the guy opens the door and says, "Oh, honey, this one looks like your boss." And me and my husband obviously have been chuckling for years, but 17, and she's just got that this year. So either she's not been paying attention, or I've done a good job of keeping them quite innocent.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of those, all of those. and the Pixar movies and stuff, you know, they're so layered. You know, there are things that you'd go and watch and adults would pick up on it straight away, and you know, kids wouldn't. But then there's a general appeal as well. So yeah, I mean that's you know that's yeah, you know, and in a sense you don't kind of have to do that with crime, but then there are other demands, or you know,
of course.
So you know, the sort of different.
Tricky. Everyone wants something different, and trying to please everyone is not easy.
Yeah.
Coming to that, Jason Kelly wants to know which of your books has been the hardest to write.
Right, the current one, it's doing me head in. I think it's because it's just Christmas. I'm kind of, I'm terrible. All I want to do is lie on the sofa and eat mince pies now, like all December. That's all I want to do. Yeah, love them, love them. Don't you like them?
Smell lovely.
Oh, right, okay.
I'm one of those weird kids who used to like scoop out the mince and then eat the pastry with the flavour of it on.
Okay. Fine, yeah. It's you know, it would be a shame if we were all different. If we were all the same. You know, I always put the mincemeat into porridge and things. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely delicious. Like mincemeat in your porridge, delicious. Yeah. So Jason's question, anyway. Yeah, actually,
I would been the hardest to write.
Hardest to write, I would say, yeah. The current one, I think, just because of all the distractions and things that are going on at the moment. I think the one, and it kind of links in with the writing day thing as well. I do find when I come to these books, they're never. I always think, right, I know what I'm doing. I've got a system, you know, I'll map it all out, and I sit down to write it, and it just feels like I'm writing for the first time again, and that's great, because sometimes it's like, whoa, you know, it's a new adventure, and then other times, you know, in the middle of the book, you're kind of like, oh God, why is this so difficult to do? Why did I even think I could do it? Why did I even bother? You know, and then
you book yourself and realise you've done it that many times before.
Yeah, and you tie it all up at the end, and it's fine, you know. So I would say, I mean, in a sense, the Poison Tree was probably the most difficult, partly for technical reasons, because I was getting to grips with. Again, I won't bore you with it all, but yeah, I was getting to grips with Kindle Create, and all kinds of things sort of slipped through, and yeah, I had a bit of a nightmare really with the formatting of it, and it just I still twitch when I think about it, and slowly, you know, as the others have come out, I've gone back and fixed all the gubbins, but yeah, so probably Poison Tree, because I kind of I was getting used to writing in that genre, and some real help as well. I mean, I should shout out to Kate Bendelow at this point, and just she was so encouraging with that first book. She looked at it and she pulled it apart and, you know, told me what was inaccurate, and I went back and fixed all that. And so I was so grateful for that. And, you know, I've got a mate on the Wirral who shall remain nameless, but is a serving police officer in Merseyside Police, which seems to spend a lot of time sitting on roofs watching people with very, very strong binoculars, which is like quite interesting. But anyway, no.
Arrested by the police.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It gets very cold apparently, but yeah. So yeah, the people are so generous, and they just, you know, help you out, and, you know, but point you in the right direction really. So I would say, Jason, that the Poison Tree is probably was the most difficult. It kind of launches you off then, and of course you got the attendant worry of like, nobody has to buy that book. You know, it could just sit there and sell a few to your relatives and then not go anywhere else. You know, and that's fine if that's what you want to do. You know, I kind of need to make a living out of this. So I've been really, really grateful to everyone who's bought it, and all the positive reviews as well. Been fantastic. So that's always really good as well.
We are coming up to the end of our hour, funnily enough. After it seems to have flown. I will say that Kate Bendelow, is coming to do Ask the Expert special for us in February. So I will. I was going to reach for my diary, but it's not at the side of me, and I'm not exactly sure. I normally have it at the side of me all the time, but so I will. I'll be posting about that in the group anyway. William Hussey says his Victorian name doesn't sound great. Henry Festival Gardens.
Henry Festival Gardens.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, that sounds more like a Mitchell and Webb character. That. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Shall we finish with one of Jason Kelly's questions?
Yes.
What authors have been an influence on your writing?
Authors that have been an influence. Well, I did write that down actually. Yeah, I mean, I haven't kind of sat down and analysed anyone's particular style or thought, well, I want to be like that, or and it is more from a point of view of things that stick in my mind, and that generally tends to be what I've read most recently, to be honest. As I say, I read a lot of Ian Rankin in the past, a lot of P.D. James as well, and the book that really sticks in my mind is that Place of Execution, Val McDermid. You know, I don't get a huge amount of time to read when I'm writing. I mean, talk about your typical writing day. One of the things I keep trying to build in there is like an hour where I just sit down and read someone else's work, you know, because I think you can get very absorbed in your own writing and not kind of look at other people's. And I do, you know, I know when I need to sit down and read, because that writing becomes more difficult, really, in a way. So yeah, I mean, it's people I've read in the past. So, you know, the Rankin and P.D. James are big names. But recently, I'm going to have to say it, aren't I? Well, there's people like Luca Veste as well, but yeah, I'm going to have to. It's J.D. Kirk. You know, I love those books. They are, yeah, they're great. They're fine. You know, they're really good. They're really good. I tell you who I did kind of pick up, and yeah, you know, sometimes you pick up a button and you approach it with a kind of like, oh, come on then, you know, let's see what's so big about you or what's so great. And I picked up M.W. Craven's the puppet show. Oh, absolutely fantastic. I wrote a review of it. Well, you know, that man could write a shopping list and it'd be entertaining. So the characters are fantastic, and it's just that's so good. If I can get anywhere near that sometime, then I'll be happy. They're really, really great. You know, who else did I write down? Oh, yeah, I mean, you know, and again, you know, there is a, you know, you'll have picked up that, like, obviously I'm in touch with various people like Barry and Dave Gatwood and Alex Smith as well. Some great books there as well, you know. So yeah, we all kind of influence each other a little bit, I think, you know, especially when we just contacted each other. Is anyone going to use cardboard cutouts in their story? Has anyone used those before? Or be a little bit careful. But yeah, you know, so yeah, that's kind of. I'm kind of. I think one of the things I'm going to do is, as I say, when I create this extra hour, when I just sit down and read, is I'm going to read all the what do you call it, the Washington and Post series, because I think they're
It's actually doing a cover reveal with us. I believe it's this Sunday.
Yes.
That's exciting.
It's torment as well, isn't it? Because then you're kind of looking at that and thinking, yay, and then you think, oh, it's March. It's like next year or something. Yeah. But yes, it'll be worth the wait. Anticipation.
You all do this to us. You all tease us with books 6 months beforehand, a year beforehand. We're going to fall out with all of you. Don't wait a year for a book. I'm a petulant child. I can't wait 5 minutes for anything.
That's it. Yeah. Now. Yeah.
Thank you so much for a lovely hour and for bearing with us when we just literally disappeared from stream in the middle.
Gremlins.
So we've got part 2. So fingers crossed we can recover part 1. let's hope Be Live can work their magic.
Found footage.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful Christmas.
Yeah.
Enjoy your bottle or your can of whatever once you've picked your wife up.
Yeah. Yeah. She's drinking Prosecco in the park at the moment. It's just,
A can of Pepsi.
Yeah, just shocking. Shocking.
Thank you so much. I hope you come back when you've got the next one ready to go.
Well, thanks for having me. It's so good, and it's such a great group. Everyone out there is just it's just so supportive and great fun. Highlight of my day sometimes reading some of the posts on the UK Crime Book Club. So thank you for having me.
The rest of my Facebook exists. I'm literally signed into the club, and then every once in a while I have a look at like what's the family been up to. This is
definitely
our crime family, and we love them dearly.
Indeed.
We do.
Yeah. All righty.